Once you've installed the Unity Hub and sorted out your license, that'll take you to the Projects window here. Click on New, and from the drop-down, choose the version of Unity that you're using, and give the project a name. Choose a location that's convenient. I'm going to choose my Documents folder and create a new folder called Unity Project. You're going to want to be very careful with your organization. I'll call it Unity Project 1, and go ahead and create the folder. Select that folder, and then choose the 3D option. We'll explore some of these other options later, particularly the Universal Render Pipeline and some of the micro games here are really a good learning tool. So I'm going to choose 3D and click on Create. So let's review the Unity interface. I think the best way to learn the interface is to try to create some objects and then navigate your way through the interface, following along with what I'm doing here. It might take a while to load the project in if this is the first time you've opened Unity, but go ahead and give that a few minutes to import everything that it needs. And this is the interface that you'll notice when the project loads. Let's go ahead and expand that. So as you know, this is the hierarchy window here. This is the scene view. Also the game view is here. If you want to see what the game will actually look like for the player, you'll click that tab. The inspector is where a lot of our work will be done next. Assets area, and then your favorites. Let's start with the hierarchy view here. Notice you have your main camera, which is here, and your directional light. We'll work on cameras and lights later, but let's go ahead and explore some of these areas by creating an object first. So right-click in the hierarchy window and choose Create Empty 3D Object, and let's create a plane. Notice immediately you see something here in the scene view, and then the inspector goes ahead and populates. Over here is the position. Notice that it's set to X0, Y0, Z0. That's the origin, and we'll use that a lot to kind of orientate ourselves. The rotation is also here. Notice that everything is 0. And then the scale, these numbers roughly represent 1 meter. So let's set something up so we have room to explore. X10 and Z10. Now the Y, it doesn't do anything because this is a plane. The Y direction, as you can see here, is up and down. X is left and right, and Z is coming at us directly. So go ahead and put 10, 10 for the scale. And then let's bring out another object. So right-click on the inspector window, choose 3D object, and this time let's do a cube. And you'll notice that the cube goes right in the middle of the origin point. It's set to 0, 0, 0. You can change the position here by putting numbers in here, and notice that that moves around. That moves it up 4 meters, moves it to the left 4 meters, then moves it either away from us or towards us 3 meters. Now, what you want to do, get in the habit of doing, is so that everything gets orientated to the same place, is that when you bring an object and you create an object here, or bring an object onto the scene, here in the Transform tab of the inspector, in the upper right-hand corner is a contextual menu. Click on Reset, and notice that will set everything back to 0. When you add an object to the scene here, you're automatically in the Position tab up here. Notice that there is a series of arrows that represent the Y direction, X and Z. And so to move this cube, you can just click on one of the arrows and drag it along that axis. You can also scale the object. Sometimes they'll come in and they're going to be very, very big, so you want to scale them down. You can either scale along either of these axes. For example, you can scale this to make it wider, longer, or taller, or shorter. If you click the middle, there's a little box in there. If you take your mouse wheel and scroll, you can zoom in. Notice that the zoom is up here. And now you can take the middle, and that'll resize it along all 3 axes. I'm going to go ahead and go back here to position and reset this so that it's right in the middle. You can rotate using 3 axes of rotation. This is going to take a little getting used to. So I can move it this way, click on the blue to move it this way, and then click on the green to move it this way. So you can see that over here those numbers have changed. I'm going to reset it back to the way that it was. This is a good opportunity for me to introduce the layout window up here. I find that it's sometimes easier, rather than seeing it in this perspective view, to do the 2x3 or the 4 split. And I think this is what I want you to practice for maybe the next several days, is these views here. So you're looking at the top of the cube. Actually, that's a rectangle now. Actually, it's a cube because I reset it. And this is looking at it from the left, looking at it from the right, and then this is the perspective view. So for example, you can see that this is my plane right here, and half the cube is actually inside the plane there, and you can't see that. So I think coming into this view helps you kind of figure out where you want to place your objects. So part of the challenge is, if you've never used a 3D program, is to learn how to read 3D space on a 2D monitor. So for example, if I go back to default and I go to my position, notice that I can bring this up out of the plane, and then notice it goes below there. And so if we go back to for a split, you can see that it is indeed, I think that's the plane right there. So in some cases it's easier to use this view here to really line things up where you need them. This is looking at the top, so you may find that you need to move it along the X or Z axis and position it. And then you have your perspective view here as well. The last tool I want to review is the hand tool. Use this to move about the viewport. I'm not moving the object, I'm moving my view of the object. And again, I'm going to go back into default view, and again, you can use the mouse wheel to scroll out or in. I'm just rolling the wheel left and right. You can also hold down the Option or Alt key, and notice you get an eyeball, and then you have a 360-degree view. You can look at this. In fact, you can even look underneath the plane here. So I'm looking at the box there below it. So notice if I take the object move tool and I move it down like this, and then take the hand tool, hold down the Option or Alt key, you can see that box underneath the plane. So take some time and create some objects over here in the hierarchy. Notice that over here I have my main camera, plane, and cube. So you have different kinds of objects: sphere, capsule, cylinder, planes, quads. So try different objects. Try moving them around and moving your way through the workspace using the hand tool and also the Option tool. You can also right click. I'm holding down the Option and right clicking and moving in and out. I think I prefer the mouse wheel. Left click will let you kind of move in a 360-degree kind of viewport. Try the moving the objects around. Also, one of the mistakes that you'll probably make early is you'll forget which object you're selected in the sample scene here. So be careful keeping that open. And then I think what you want to learn is this inspector. We'll be going through each of these sections. For now, try positioning things using the numbers and the rotation and the scale here. Change those numbers. Try looking at this in the 2x3 view as well as the 4 split view, so you can get a sense of how to move these objects in 3D space and kind of get used to the way that this looks when you start moving things here. Notice that they're moving in the other windows as well. And then once you feel comfortable with all of these tools, move on to the next tutorial, and we'll talk about adding materials and textures to your objects.